Oh, great. It's been a crazy day over here.
I came down to the boat because I'm getting it all ready to go sailing to Polsbo tonight to go overnight. So Polsbo is like another port, like maybe 4 hours away. So yeah, came down for that, and then I was getting ready for this, and I spilled my beer all over the cushions.
Oh no! Oh no!
Well, I got it all. Yeah, I got it all cleaned up. But now everything's good, and it's like 80 degrees and no wind, so it's just super hot right now here.
Oh, just muggy.
Yeah.
You got a little bit of the glisten, but it's more like the glow. It's a nice glow.
Yeah, I've got a glow. Yeah, a glow about me. Yeah.
Are you all out of beer then? Like, this is a crisis. Because look, I have like a nice local lager here sitting waiting for me. But I mean, drinking alone is not as fun.
No, I've got something in here.
Yes.
And it's so hot here in Seattle. It's always so hot in Seattle. That's what it's known for here. Like, people are like, Seattle, oh, it's so hot. All that sun. Coconuts dropping on people because it's so tropical and hot here. So
there are not coconuts there.
That's how we get by. So this is my Catalina.
Oh, beautiful. That must be what heaven looks like.
Oh yeah, it's my happy place. I come here after work all the time, and it's a 40-year-old boat, and I've been restoring it for 3 years. Wow. But it's really nice. Catalina 30 classic, and there's the inside.
Oh yeah, that looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
I love the big map.
Yeah, I made that. It's a map of the Puget Sound from the turn of the century, and I made the table into a map.
That's pretty cool. I don't have anything like that. I'm like, this is my little office. We have colored chalk. So I do have a question for you from I thought it was a good question from one of our community members.
Yes.
And you've probably been asked this before, but she wants to know how you feel about people calling light and airy a trend and then putting it in competition with dark and moody.
Do you want my PC opinion or my real opinion?
No, this is Pepper. This is a #fuck yeah moment. Let's hear it.
Okay, here's my statement on that. People that get caught up in dark and moody or light and airy, in my opinion, are missing the point of photography completely. You are not either a light and airy or a dark and moody photographer. That's like a really weird way to categorize yourself. That's like being like, I am a person who drives cars that are red and not black. It's a meaningless thing. It's light and airy is just like, I mean, it's basically it's your aesthetic, you know. It's like, do you shoot backlit with like a lot of light, and you have people in flowy dresses and like light colors and a light background and backlit and overexposed? Then yes, that's light and airy. And then dark and moody would be like, you know, inside of a castle by a window, and it's dark, and you know, and you're half naked or something, and you know, there's hair over here, and
we're talking about my style right now, just so you know.
Yeah, like a boob or a butt over here, and it's just like barely lit on one side, and all of that is really good. But my background in photography originally was photojournalism, and that was about what is the story, like what is the moment you're capturing, and you should just try to capture it in a beautiful way. But I never went out going like, I'm a light and airy photojournalist. Like what? I was like, I had a teacher who said you need to shoot with your heart and not with your head, and that is like the best way I can sum it up. That's how I approach photography, and that if you put yourself in a box labeled light and airy or dark and moody, that's a really silly box to put yourself in to limit what you make.
I think even depends on the situation you're in. Like, what happens if you are in like a big bright field and maybe it's overcast, but still really light and bright out, and you're trying to shoot dark and moody? Well, those photos are just going to look muddy.
Yeah,
you're trying to be dark and moody, but the light isn't right for that.
Yeah, are you going to go to the couple and be like, all right, shoot's canceled.
Yeah.
Beautiful out. We're going to go, let's go over into this wine cellar. You know,
so this
or whatever,
is not dark enough on your wedding day. Like, I only shoot these hours.
But here's the ultimate in photography for me. What are you trying to say with your work? Like if your work was a representation of like what you believe and like what you believe existence is about, or what beauty is, or what pain is, or whatever, how are you saying that? And it could be the way that you work with your subject. It could be the way that their hand is resting on something. It could be a prop or an object in the frame that tells part of the story. It could be the light. It could be how two people are interacting. But how do you actually see? And if you boil it down to a formula of like, okay, backlit, light and airy, whatever, oh God, just gag me. Like that's not enough. That's not enough. It's not a formula. And it shouldn't be dark and moody either. That's like missing the point. You don't go to a famous writer and go like, do you use a pencil or a pen? You know, are you a penist? Ooh. or are you a pencilist?
Oh, I think pencilist sounds better.
I mean, you may have a preference. You know, you may naturally know how to shoot in one environment over another, and that's totally fine. One thing that we've struggled with, well, not struggled with, but it's just kind of happened at Mastin Labs, is that we are like the bastion for light and airy. Like everybody's like light and airy, and then you go over to like Tribe or something, or Looks Like Film, and it's all dark and moody. And it's ridiculous because any real film that you use, like Portra or Ektar or whatever, you could shoot it in any environment. It could be dark and moody, or it could be light and airy, or anything that any other company makes could be used in any situation. It's just people tend to do the same thing over and over again, and it's like a feedback loop. You know, you see one thing in the group, and so you shoot that way, and so on.
Oh yeah, yes.
So,
everyone's work starts to look the same.
I don't want to dig on anyone doing any one style, but I just don't want people to hold back on experimenting with what they're trying to actually say with their work because of a box called light and airy or dark and moody. You know, like if you're on your deathbed and you were like, I'm reviewing all of the work, you know, my life is over. My life is gone. I don't have another life. Did I accomplish what I wanted to with my art? And I sure as fuck am not going to be like, oh, I wasn't light and airy enough or dark and moody enough. You know what I mean? Or I didn't have the Sigma 50 lens or whatever. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to be like, oh, I remember, you know, that I had just had some heartbreak, and I was trying to express that through a portrait I was taking of somebody else. And, you know, I really thought about it and like made this connection with this person. And together we worked on a picture that is meaningful and like has a story. It makes you feel something when you look at it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I think people need to even go back down to why they're doing photography. Like, why are you a photographer?
Like if I was to boil down photography in one way, it would be tell the story you need to tell with your art. Hopefully that's why you're doing it, and do it with everything you have, and then the money or whatever else will come to you. Don't go the other way around. Experiment, like try different things. Don't be afraid to like branch out from what you do. Like when I'm in the Mastin Labs group and I see someone like take a chance and there's like no likes, there's like one like or something, I always jump in and I comment because I want to encourage that. Like I want to encourage someone stepping out and trying something, because that's where photography as an art form is growing. Is like when someone is brave and they try something. So I like that. And I don't care if it's dark and moody or light and airy, or you shoot it with an iPhone or film, or I don't care about any of those things at all. I don't care. But if you shoot something and I see that you're challenging yourself or you're scaring yourself or like whatever, that's really cool. Like that gets me excited as a consumer of images. And now as a buyer of images, like we buy almost all of our images from our own community, you know, to advertise with and stuff, because we want to support our own community.
That's awesome.
Members. Yeah, no, it's everything. I do everything for them. When I see someone taking a chance, like I really try to encourage that. And I hope that happens elsewhere too. Yeah, there's so much more room for photography to grow. So much more.
Well, my question is, where do you see that? And where do you see the opportunity or the area that you see it growing? One, but then I also want to talk about your own evolution. So you started off like documentary style.
Yeah.
And wedding photography. And then you evolved into Mastin Labs.
Yeah.
And more. And then what's the next thing? How did you make your way through that? Because I with Pepper, I meet photographers that are talking about their evolution or want to do the next thing, or maybe they're just starting out and they want to branch into even like commercial photography. I talked to someone today that does school portraits.
Oh yeah, cool.
Right? And that's kind of like a forgotten thing that maybe not as cool and trendy, doing school portraits, but this guy was awesome. I mean, he has a way more classes than me. Is a little jealous, but yeah, he loves what he does. And he said like there's so much more out there for photography than just weddings.
Oh, totally. Like, okay, so within wedding photography, I made my fortune on family portraits and formals. Like the thing that everybody hates, that is like not heroic or cool or sexy. Like I loved it, you know, like I would spend hours at a wedding shooting portraits and not doing the epic tiny people, big landscape stuff or any of that. Not that that's bad. It's just that that's what I liked. And I dove into it, and it opened doors for me. So like when you talk about someone doing school portraits, I'm like, if they're innovating there or like pushing boundaries, awesome.
Right.
It's and like blue ocean.
And he loves it. And how many other people are doing that?
Like nobody. It'd be like there's a few people that have started a Mastin Labs like horse photography group. It's like a type of photography I didn't even know existed, like shooting pictures of horses. And the photography is amazing. It's beautiful. And it's like, who's the rock star of horse photography? Like nobody. Not yet.
Well, somebody is, and we need to know about them now.
I'm going to say that there's entire cultures and races that have not gotten the same attention or focus in the photography industry, period. So like for a long time, it was just men. Your typical famous photographer when I was growing up was some 40 or 50-year-old dude that would parachute into Africa and take documentary pictures of people suffering and be like the hero. And that was like, and then finally there were more and more women involved, which was great. And that really expanded like what photography is and will be. And that's been a great evolution. And now, I think the next steps are like entire cultures that have not really been part of the grander conversation. So like when I was a photojournalist, the thing that kept coming back to me in my mind was like, why are we sending someone from New York to cover a story in Africa? Why isn't there a photographer in Africa that can cover a story in Africa? You know, from a inside perspective, someone who actually knows, like someone from that area. That's where the growth is somehow finding a way. And it's a very tricky subject. It's not my job as a white guy to like give other people the superpowers to be photographers. I just want to see the entire world, you know, get involved. And when there are more groups and people sharing their work and new perspectives, which is so exciting, I just want to like applaud it and support it, you know, like buy those photos, show those photos, support people, help them rise up the ladder. You know, I was in India in 2009 and I was taking pictures, but I don't know what I'm shooting. I'm shooting things that are like colorful. I'm going to temples and shooting people doing ceremonies, but I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm not Indian. Do you know what I mean? And yet it's people like me that are telling the story of India to the rest of the world, which is totally jacked up. That's totally crazy. It would be like someone from India coming to Idaho, where I used to live, and trying to tell a story about like the dive bar in the corner next to my house.
That's a really It's a really good way to think about it.
Yes. So in a nutshell, that is where I see the growth, is like people telling their own stories, contributing to like the big global conversation on photography. And that is what I'm waiting for, holding my breath. And I need it to stay interested, because it's, I don't know, we've kind of stalled out. Photography has.
Well, I think even for like inspiration, people, we find inspiration from all the same photographers, all the same groups, all the same places within North America, maybe a little bit like into Spain, Mexico. I mean, people get married in Mexico and they bring in like a North American or like a US or Canadian photographer. And I'm like, holy shit, there's like some of my favorite photographers are from Mexico.
Yeah, like there's Fair Waristi. I mean, everyone knows him. He's awesome. The way he shoots is very unique. Like I think that who he is and where he comes from influences his style, and I fucking love it. It's refreshing.
Yes.
There's also Bruno Reza.
Yes.
He's great. There was this guy named Omar Olvarada. I used to be in touch with him on Facebook. He bought a Fuji Frontier and was like running it in like his garage in Mexico, like scanning film because he loved it so much. He was doing awesome work.
Oh man. Do you know Facundo Santana? I think I'm saying it right. I'm just going to look it up here. You have to, if you don't know him, Facundo Santana, he's from Argentina. And if you like Fair's work, you should check out his too. It's a little bit even more street. It definitely is more street.
Send me a link.
Yeah, he's phenomenal and such a kind human being. Crazy talented. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I got distracted by that, but go ahead, continue.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Anyway, that's where I see everything growing. In a nutshell. I'm not like on a mission. I'm not trying to change the world. It's just from a personal interest viewpoint of like, I just want to see photography that gets me excited. I need more people involved, or like I need more voices from all over the world to be in the conversation, and then I'm excited again. And then maybe it's the beer talking, but the second thing I really, really wish for, and maybe it'll happen and maybe it won't, is a return to the documentary, like a return to shooting actual stories about real people that have nothing to do with beauty or weddings. But I'm a huge fan of like telling a story that is difficult, or a story that you don't quite understand and you learn about it as you tell it. That's where I came from. Like I did stories on Alzheimer's, like caretakers of people who have Alzheimer's. I one of the first photojournalism stories I did in school was about a paraplegic, and how does he live? How does he like make a fire in his home and cook, and how does he like get on with life? All kinds of stuff like that was very meaningful to me. Yeah, and you can get very intriguing photos from that, and I would love to see more of your average person photographer. Not that we're all special, not that anyone's average, but just more photographers exploring the idea of like a story, like something that's close to you and following it for a few years, not with the goal of being famous or getting followers or Instagram likes. Unfortunately, that kind of deep photography does not get likes. And I think it's kind of getting weeded out by Instagram and things like that, because we're all chasing the likes, which is garbage. I mean, there's no value in popularity. I'm sorry.
It's like,
I guess there is.
Likes are monopoly money. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's good. It's good for business to business, I guess. Business to business.
But anyway, yeah. Those are all my little wishes and wants for the industry, and I hope that it happens. I see a few people do it. A few people branch out into longer, like story-driven photography, even with clients. You know, spending an entire day with a family. You know, shooting family just a day in the life of a family. That's fascinating. Way more interesting to me than let's meet at a park, you know, with some leaves falling and I'll take some beautiful pictures. I mean, that'll be great. Don't get me wrong. Like, that's commerce. Commerce is really important. But when we're talking about art, that takes the amount that you sacrifice as a photographer is the amount you get back. So if you make it just bam, 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 easy, you're getting like bam, 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 easy photography back. That's easy to digest. It's pretty, and it's absolutely forgettable, which is 90% of Instagram for me. Like, I could give a shit about someone watching balloons going up in Turkey, sitting on a rooftop, eating their dates off of a tray. And that photo will get 2 million likes. It's so flimsy. It's just beauty with nothing behind it. And then I see like some long-term project that was difficult, like Steve McCurry. Oh, he'd go to India for 20 years documenting like the same family, the same area, just because he's interested in it.
You just want to see so much more. You see so much more that we could be doing as an industry.
So much more. Yeah, everyone wants the quick route. But why take the quick route?
But you can get you start on that route, the quick route or the trendy, the popular, like the weddings or like the beautiful portraits and things like that. And I think people don't realize how much of a struggle it really is. Like Instagram, social media, it can make it look really glamorous, but still a fuck ton of work. It's so much work. And when it comes to, you can make those images and you get tons of likes and sure, that's great. But if you don't actually have the backbone and have a business behind you, and that's all,
totally.
And like, you are fucked. You are miserable.
Absolutely. So my second thought about photography doesn't even align with my first one, which is like, go out and make meaningful work. My second thought is people are way too concerned with whether the Canon 50mm lens or the Sigma 50mm lens is sharper. And they're certainly not concerned enough with, how do I make a living? Am I going to be able to pay my taxes? Am I going to be able to retire? Do I have anything invested in a mutual fund that's earning me compound interest? And this may sound like gobbledygook, like blah, 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 blah. But when you're 41 years old, like me, it's fucking important. And it's coming at you if you're not 41 yet. I guarantee you, unless you die, you're going to be in my position. And I'm giving you the best advice I can right now, which is, yeah, this stuff sucks, but you got to learn it, or you're going to be screwed, especially if you're a wedding photographer. Especially if you're a male wedding photographer and you're 50 years old at a wedding. You're no longer like Mr. Cool Hip guy. You're like
watch my hip.
Yeah, you're creepy guy looking for a nip slip during putting the dress on, right?
Yeah. Oh God, I even think like for a woman too. I'm like, I'm not going to be like fun and energetic and cool.
Yep. That's so you didn't tell me to do this, so I'm gonna do it anyway. A shameless plug for Pepper. What I like about what you're doing is that you're tackling the icky part that most artists don't even want to acknowledge, which is really important. So like, if you want to be, whether you use Pepper or anything, or you do it yourself, being able to separate your art and your business and be good at both is critical. So like, you can't do 100% towards like beautiful shoots and stuff. I've seen people do this and they're still just poor as hell. Like they don't have 2 pennies to rub together, and they've made the most beautiful work because they just don't want to learn the business part. So if you have someone helping you and you learn it also, and you're doing your art, then you can start saving money, you can have a plan, and you can make it all work.
And you can maybe have some free time. I don't know, maybe like a day off here and there. Like, what is that?
Yeah. Oh, free time.
Yeah.
Free time. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Free time, man. Yeah. I mean, meanwhile, your life is ticking away. You're struggling to be this artist and this famous photographer. Meanwhile, you're getting older. And if you don't have the business part figured out, I hate to say it, but you're wasting your time. You might be making beautiful work, but it's going down the memory hole. It got you some likes, but it's not going to pay your mortgage. It's not going to prep you for retirement. It's not going to give you security.
This is why Pepper exists. This is how I felt and how my friends felt, and I wanted it to exist for us and for more.
So I want to do this like big post on compounding interest, which sounds like so boring.
It sounds sexy. I'm into it.
Compounding interest is the sexiest thing that exists.
Yeah.
So if your average photographer, I did a poll in the Mastin Labs group. I was like, how much do you spend a year on camera gear? Okay. Because to me, honestly, like digital cameras, they haven't improved in 10 years. I mean, you can't point to something that I'm like, oh my God, now I can take a picture. I've taken amazing pictures on a 5D Classic you can get for $300 that have been selling for 15 years through stock. I could still take good pictures. It doesn't matter. I use cameras that are almost 100 years old. It doesn't matter. So if you took that $3,000, it was astounding. It was like $3,000 a year the average person spends on gear. If you put that into a fairly aggressive mutual fund that's making like 10% a year, if you started doing that when you're like 22, by the time you retired, you'd have something like $600,000.
Holy shit.
If you just decided not to buy that flipping camera that you actually don't need, or that Sigma art lens, if you just took that money and you invested it, you would be making your future self happy and secure. Because you will be old one day. Everyone will be old one day. The party ends. The party will always end at some point. And you want to make sure that when the party is over, you have something.
I think because people want to say, I'm living for today, I'm living in the moment, and maybe I'll die tomorrow and that kind of stuff. But won't it also feel good to know that you're being smart with your money?
If you've ever been in a money pinch, I'm sure every photographer has.
Yes.
Like, I remember when I was still married, we had our first baby, and I was the sole breadwinner doing, 40 weddings a year. And I was actually pretty well known. I wasn't at the peak of my career, but near it. And I remember that it was so expensive to live that in December, before Christmas, I sold all of my camera gear, minus a 5D Classic and not the cheapest 50, but the one that's one step above that, like the 1.4 Canon. That's all I had. I sold everything else I owned, all my other cameras, to pay the mortgage. And then I was just hoping that I would book enough weddings through, February was always good, like Valentine's Day around then. I was hoping that I had enough to just keep paying the mortgage. And that sucks. There's no like free spiritness that can overcome the feeling of like trying to provide for a baby and a spouse with, just going like, I don't even know what's going to happen next year.
Oh, so, man.
Understanding money is sexy and it's worth it. And if you can get help from anyone or Pepper or anybody, it's worth it. It's a total worthwhile investment. Just education.
So I know you were married, went through a divorce. I went through a divorce, and I think we can both say divorce is not for wimps.
No, it sucks.
Fuck, sucks so bad. And for me anyway, it was like extremely expensive and messy and ugly. I've never been so stressed out in my whole life. My hair was falling out of my head. And
oh yeah, me too. It's just.
Yeah, but men look sexy bald.
Pre-divorce, I had like hair down to here. It was just really thick. It was amazing. I know it sounds cheesy, but whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah.
Like, I learned a lot from divorce. I would say that I'm living my very best life now in the last 3 years, and that none of it would have happened without everything that happened before. So for anyone who's watching this and going through divorce, my advice is stay strong, because you'll get to the other side. You will. And also channel your anger or whatever you're feeling into something positive. Not alcohol, not drugs. But for me, it was the gym. I think in the very beginning, I was going to the gym sometimes 3 times a day when I was starting to feel like I'm losing it. and then you're dealing with your mental health in a good way. And then when you come out of it at the other end, you're like better than you were before. So that is my advice. Oh, and my other advice, someone who's watching this is going through something shitty. Mm-hmm. I know it. Mm-hmm. My other advice is whoever you're married to, they're not your whole world. You still have family. You may have kids. You have friends. You have a huge support network, and you're not alone. You may feel alone, and it's a weird feeling at first when you're divorced. Like at the very beginning, it's a really weird feeling because it's just you, but you're not alone. And then you understand later that you should come first. If you're not happy, if you're not pursuing what you want in this one life, you should. And then maybe you'll attract the right person, or you'll find the right person, or
you'll attract the right life.
Or the right life. Or maybe you don't need any person. There's kind of a story that we're taught as we're growing up that you need somebody. Or that you're supposed to do things in a certain way. You're supposed to like go to school, go to college, get married, have kids, raise them, then retire, and then I don't know.
Yeah, damn it, Disney. You messed us up, man.
Yeah, Disney is terrible. I mean, Disney's great, but that's not reality. So my advice is like stay positive through it and just try to survive it, and it'll be in your rear view mirror. Maybe it'll take a few years, but it will be.
I think even building on that, saying if you are going through a hard time or you're going through a divorce, whatever that thing is, that I think really knowing that you have power in your life and over your life, that you have the power to make a decision and change your life, like as scary as that might seem, or the consequences of that, or things that you'll lose, to know that you still have the power to make those choices and actually change your life is so incredibly empowering. And I think if you're going through that tough time right now, knowing that, hey, like you actually do have control over your life, even if it's something small right now, but it's still something.
Yes, totally. It was terrible. It's very, very, very hard the first year or two. But then as long as you don't do anything dumb and you take care of yourself, you'll be better.
We have a entrepreneur right now that we're working with Pepper, and she's going through a divorce. And being an entrepreneur, a photographer, having your own business and going through something less life-altering like that, or something extremely stressful, what is your advice for that? How do you maintain your business without just dying inside?
I was lucky because I have employees that, supported me through it. So my ex took me out to lunch just one day randomly and was like, I want a divorce. And then dropped me back off at work. It was totally messed up. Yeah. It was so fucking messed up. If it wasn't for my employees, maybe my business would have really suffered. So I don't know what to tell someone who doesn't have employees, but they propped everything up for me. I mean, I came in and I was like, you know what, I'm not going to be very effective for a while. And they were like, we'll just keep everything going. So I had to take a little bit of time off. Well, I would try to come in every day at work, but I spent a lot of time at the gym or just walking. I'd walk like miles. But you eventually come back down to earth, and then it's good to have something to work on. It's good to focus on it. So my advice is try to find help, maybe another photographer you're close with that can help you manage your stuff. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't isolate yourself. That's probably the worst thing you can do.
I think a lot of us, even though we have lots of communities that we can engage in, I think a lot of us, we still work on our own and we're still alone a lot. I think feel that isolation, even in just regular everyday life in our industry, for work.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it is isolating. A long time ago, I started a thing called Beer and Cameras, and it was mainly to meet up with other people because it was so isolating. And the idea was just to meet at a local brewery. This was 10 years ago, and just have a beer. And there wasn't even an agenda. We weren't there to learn anything. Nothing. It was just to not be alone. And that thing grew to 500 people or something every month. And then people tried to add structure to it. People were always like, oh, we should have this or that. And then I was like, I'm out.
Like,
stop doing
no,
it.
like, this is not a business. This part's just for fun.
Yeah.
What about you? Like, what's your next evolution?
As far as like presets go or film looks, I have something I'm going to be doing to everything I've already made to like kind of finalize it, and like everything I've ever learned is going to go into this next evolution of the products we have. But I'm not going to make bullshit things that are based on nothing. So like we've done all the films that I like. I've got a little bit more coming out, but after that, I'm really looking into more of like education, other products that will help people be like, contracts and your pricing, resources like that and education like that are not about like being famous or getting a lot of likes. It's just about like, how do you find security in your life? How do you do realistic shit, like have a house, have kids, have a retirement, not be stressed out. So that's what I foresee is the next step is for the working photographer. How do you survive and thrive and feel safe? And that's like what the next step is going to be.
Practical, actionable things, products that you can implement.
Yes. How do you succeed as a business person without it like driving you insane? Because that's the foundation. You can't be an artist if you go out of business. Like you need both. Like to achieve your art, you need to be in business for 10 years, right? And you're not going to be in business for 10 years if you're actually losing money and you don't realize it because your pricing's all jacked up or you're undercutting yourself. You don't know how to advertise. You don't have a business plan, whatever. So I want to try to help people with that, but we'll see. I don't know. It could be something. It could be t-shirts. I don't know. Something else. We have a few things in the works. Yeah.
Ooh, we have some nice t-shirts. I should send you one. I feel like pink. We have this nice like pink color. I think you could rock this.
I can do pink. Pink's good. Pink's a good color for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fair skin. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's do like a t-shirt exchange.
I'm in.
Yeah, that's what firefighters do. My brother's a firefighter, and he trades like badges and t-shirts with firefighting companies all over the world. Like they go, like when they visit, they like drop off patches and t-shirts. We should do that.
Oh yeah.
We've got pins.
What? We don't have pins?
We could trade.
We have t-shirts and no pins. We haven't reached that level of like coolness yet.
Oh, pins are in. Pins and TikTok.
And what?
That's what you got to be thinking.
TikTok?
Yes, you heard it here first. TikTok.
What's TikTok? What is a TikTok?
Install it on your phone. To me, it is the next and maybe only important social network. It was a company called Musical.ly. It's a Chinese company. They became TikTok, and it's like a new social platform. And it's honestly, it's the only one I'm interested in anymore. I watch it all the time. We're like addicted to it. We're starting our own TikTok channel for Mastin Labs.
What? Okay, I'm writing this down because I don't forget.
Yeah, you heard it here first, photographers. If you don't have a strategy for TikTok or you're not thinking about one, do it. It's blue ocean. It's unconquered territory. There's no one there. It's like Facebook at the very beginning.
Why TikTok over these other ones?
You just install it and look at it every night for a week, even if it doesn't make sense, and you'll get it. And you'll be addicted.
Okay, I'll give it a go. I'll give it a rating. I'll get back to you on it.
Yeah, it's how social media was originally, and it's a return to what's great about social media, in my opinion. You'll see. So
if we wanted to follow you on TikTok, if you have an account, what is it called?
Just be Mastin Labs, and we have no videos yet.
Oh.
So one of my employees, Kyle, when we were doing some test shoots, we did some TikTok videos, and I think he made an account and they went on his. But we're just starting it now, or just starting to look into it now. But I'm really excited. It's really cool. You'll see. It's really funny. It's just like people not trying to be cool. It's people not being cool.
Okay, we would fit in there because we're not cool. We're like the nerdy chicks in Canada. That's who we are.
Yes. It's about creativity and trying stuff and being silly and like low quality and it's so good. It's the best.